I think it's about acceptance.
Yeah.
Like when you're in a band, you know that it's not just your thoughts that's gonna work out. You have to play with other people's thoughts as well.
Yeah.
And if you take it as an advantage, it's a great advantage as well.
Zubair Hasan is one of the more prominent artists in the Bangladesh music scene right now. He is primarily a guitarist and has been delivering the goods for popular rock band Indalo, as well as the band Banglamotorr. Zubair started his journey into the world of music about a decade ago, and his creative influence is beyond just making music. He is a keen photographer and has recently ventured into the world of music production as well. Now in this episode, we talk about what it's like to make music in a digital world and for a digital world, the creative process of making music, and the challenges of being a musician in the 21st century, specifically in the context of Bangladesh. Now, if you've got any value out of this podcast, it would mean the world to me if you could go to my YouTube channel and subscribe there. I know a lot of you are watching my episodes there, so a single click of the subscribe button would help us out a lot. And also, if you want access to some of the really cool, amazing digital content out there, I send out a weekly newsletter curating some of that stuff, well, almost every week. So go to www.tawsifakkas.com to sign up. Now, if you know me personally, you know how passionate I am about music in general. And also, I love Indalo a fair bit. So this episode was quite special for me to go in depth about the entire process of creating music. So if you're in the path of creating music yourself, this episode is for you. Now, without further ado, here is episode 6 of the State of the Creators podcast with Tawsif Akkas, which is me, featuring Zubair Hasan from Indalo. Hope you enjoy the show. This is the State of the Creators, a show about creative individuals who are on a quest to build something out of nothing. Tell me about your handle on social. Swami Ma Banyan. What's it all about? What does it mean?
Oh man, that's I'm not gonna go into details of that.
All right.
But it's like another personality of me.
Okay.
Let's just say that.
Okay.
So yeah, but on Instagram it's actually Zubair_HC.
Okay.
But yeah, the name is Swami Ma Banyan.
Right. So
that's
you don't want to go into details into that.
Well, I could, but it's gonna take
a long time.
Yeah.
The whole podcast series.
Yeah.
You need a podcast series on Swami Ma Banyan.
Exactly. That's a different subject. It's like you can actually bring me as Swami Ma Banyan for the second episode. So you know.
So the next season.
Exactly.
Today you're Zubair.
Today I'm just Zubair. Yeah.
Okay. So the next season we'll get Mr. Swami Ma Banyan.
Sure. He might have a lot of things to say.
All right. So for the people who are unfamiliar with who Zubair is, could you just introduce yourself and basically say what you do, who you are?
I'm a musician. I'm playing in a band called Indalo, and also I'm working with two other band. Actually, one other band which is called Banglamotorr.
Yeah.
I'm also working with some other musicians as well, but my primary band is Indalo basically.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So, but you also do some photography as well.
I do. Yes, I'm into photography. I'm not professionally, but
right.
Yeah, I love photography.
Right. Okay. So essentially, if you had to introduce yourself, you're a musician.
Yes. Yeah. I think that's the
singer, songwriter, composer.
Yes.
Guitarist.
Yeah.
Pretty much
yes. I play the guitar, and Indalo I also sing, but primarily I think I'm more. So I'll tell you this. So I have a few. So there are times when I actually just like playing guitar.
Right.
And there are times when I want to sing as well.
Yes.
So it's very hard to satisfy yourself.
Yes, creatively.
Like when you want to explore things, explore yourself. So in Banglamotorr I actually sing mostly.
Yes. So the song Lucy, did you sing?
I sang the song.
Nice. I love the song, man. It's awesome.
Oh, thanks, man. Yes, that's so there in Banglamotorr I sing, and in Indalo I sing as well, but primarily I'm the guitarist there. So.
Right. Okay.
So
I remember the first time I heard Indalo. This was maybe 6 years back.
Mm-hmm.
So I'd already moved to Australia. Some of my favorite bands, at the time, but there weren't many doing the rock music as I would have liked. So obviously after the ABC generation, there's a few handful of rock bands, and you used to be in Ashore as well, part of
yes.
this. Right. And I remember this new band, and I used to think of, immediately my head went to, oh, okay, this is almost like super band, because you have John Bhai from Black back at the time, you from Ashur, and then not at the time, and then Zubair from Nemesis. I don't know who was the bassist back then, because it wasn't Bart Bhai, was it?
No, it was Hasan Tito.
Right.
And he was also from Black.
Right.
And also from Ashur as well.
Okay.
So basically, Tito was somebody that so when I started music, Tito and I, we were like doing music for a long time in Ashur, and even before Ashur, we used to play in the same band. And then we got out of that band and we formed Ashur, and then I quit the band. Tito was so Tito also stopped making music because we were so together, like making music. So he stopped, and then he got into Black at one point.
Okay.
He started music again. He got into Black, and then so he was kind of the bridge between me and John. But John and I, we were friends. We used to go to the same uni, and we knew each other for a long time.
Right.
Like but we never had that musical, exchange basically.
Right.
So when
you never worked together before.
Yeah, we never worked.
But
together.
You both were big fans of music. You did your own thing.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and we actually listened to the same stuff that we grew up listening to the same stuff basically.
Right.
So when Tito got into Black, and then I got into music again. Like I was, and I started jamming with him again with Ashur basically. We used kind of like not reformed, but we were like jamming. And then John left Black at that point.
Right.
And so he came just to see the jamming, and then we were like, we jammed together. I think that's the
when
turning
it
point.
clicked.
Like, that's when it clicked. I was like, wow, this seems
Right.
good. We should do it more.
Yeah, and was that how you kind of then created ISD together? Because that was the first single, wasn't it?
That was the first single. So and then John used to come to my place, and we used to jam all the time. We used to just jam and record whatever the shit we were doing.
Yeah.
And then we started jamming, Tito, me, and John, and then we were looking for a drummer.
Right.
We tried a few drummers before the deal.
Yeah.
I think a few drummers we tried, but then we picked Dio.
Just creatively, just matched.
Yeah. It clicked. The whole thing was made sense basically.
Yeah.
And then we started jamming. The first song we made was IST.
Yeah, and I remember because when I look at the band, obviously it was the music video that I found out from, and the song was so different to what was out at that time in Bangladesh. And obviously I was a big fan of Black at the time. I was a big fan of Nemesis, and it just felt like a nice amalgamation of all the good things that they had to offer. And it was so different, and that attracts me the most about Indalo as well. Is how you don't really pick genre. I mean, I don't want to say genre per se, but the style of the music that you have is not perhaps the most popular out there.
No,
and yet you choose to do what you do. I mean, even the music video we worked together on Hobby Key.
Exactly.
It's a song that I almost immediately loved, but if you look at the reception, it's not the most positive reception. For a song that is, I would say, is probably one of the most forward-thinking songs out there. It doesn't have a chorus. It doesn't have the traditional formula for making a song. It's not very radio-friendly per se. The topic is quite, you have to have cultural context to understand the topic. So I want to go deeper into that side of thinking as to why do you do this, first of all, and essentially you're kind of putting money on the table, given I mean in context, because if you played some really cool 2 to 3 minute formula based music,
you would be more commercially viable.
Correct. So especially in a country like Bangladesh, where making money from music is extremely hard in comparison to other countries, why this decision? And more from a creative perspective, that's what I want to find out.
I think it was not a decision in a way, because it was like we already decided that we're just going to do music. John left Black. He was doing commercially very well, and the band was at a peak basically, and they could just make music and just make money.
Correct.
But he left the band because he wanted to explore.
Yeah.
And so he had that like philosophy that he wants to make music that meant something to him, because if you're creating something and if you do not believe in it, I think and you have to play in front of people, I think that's the most horrible thing to do. Like,
so create something that you don't believe in, but then you even have to like showcase yourself in front of people.
Yeah, it's like you're dating somebody that you don't even love, but you have to see them every day,
right?
And you fake it.
Yeah,
it's just
like faking it.
Yeah,
the best
just
word.
like faking it, just to be in a relationship. It doesn't make sense to me. Like,
right.
Why would you do that to yourself? So we wanted to make music that we love, that we wanted to hear. Like, when we hear that, we can say like, okay, we did something that we like and love, and so that there. And also, I think the way we think about music, that's not the most popular. As you said, it's not the popular genre, or it's not the popular style of music, maybe, but I think there are always people, no matter what you do, there are always people, you will find somebody. Yeah. Maybe just one people, one doesn't matter, like 10, 20, but you will find people who would, appreciate it, and, you can connect with these people. I think that's more important to find 1,000 people who will just listen to you and just clap and then go away and listen to something else. Right. It makes more sense to me to find 10 people who would actually get into your music and love it, and connect and actually feel the emotion that we were feeling when we were making the music, or when we listen to music.
Right. It's interesting, because do you think this would have been possible maybe 20 years ago? That would this have been possible? So making music for like 10 people or 15 people per se.
I don't. Well, it could be. Of course, it would be possible, but it wouldn't be. It wouldn't be as easy.
Right.
I think now artists have more independency. I think they have this independence that you can just make your own music, have your own channel, bring out the music, and you can just distribute it yourself.
So it's and that's kind of like the overarching topic for this conversation as well, that I had thought, like making music for the digital era, or the digital consumer. Because even though music in itself is a very analog kind of, like the process of creativity, not the instruments per se, but the process of thinking, the touching and the feeling of the instruments, it's a very analog process, but it's actually consumed entirely digitally these days. When you create music, do you think about the end product at all, that this is going to get streamed or this is going to get pushed out? Because I remember the first album, even the album launch, cover art, the nice little, the dog is the symbol for the entire album, like the merch and all that. This is stuff that I haven't seen in a long, long time, if ever, in Bangladesh. But it's very common elsewhere. This both combination of physical things, but also kind of pushing towards digital. How much of that does it influence your creative process for making music?
I think for the first album we did the physical thing, and we wanted to make it more personal. Like you have something that you can touch, you can feel, and you can actually. It's like an introduction to the whole band. Right. This is who we are. Like this is what we do. This is who we are. Dog. It's a part of the when you go into the whole album and you go through the booklet and see the pictures. It's like a journey. Yeah. So we did that for the first album and everything, but maybe we don't know if we will do the same thing for the second album.
Right. Which is in process right now.
Yes.
Yep. As we speak.
Not because we are frustrated with the physical thing and everything, but we think we have done that.
Right.
And we want to,
try something else.
Yeah, try something else and do things differently.
Right. So I guess for a lot of the bands as well, artists as well, they have these little albums that they always keep doing the same thing over and over again. That's something you want to stay away from. You just want to experiment, not just in terms of. You also want to experiment in terms of the style as well. Creatively.
Yeah, I think that's our personality. I would say that's like John, even the other members. Bart. Now Bart is the bassist. Yes. Basically now. So we all have this. We share this. I would say we love, like, we would sometimes, John and I would sing, like, from Richard Marx to Soundgarden to, I don't know, Rival Sons or anything, like anything that, that talks to us, speaks to us, like, musically. Right. So we have this variety of, like, we'd go into this feeling when you just want to listen to Radiohead and just make music like that touch that emotion.
Right.
Sometimes you just want to be like the hard rocker who just make music in from different emotions.
Yeah, and you can hear that in your first album as well. It's got that grunge feel to it, but it's also got the bluesy, like the I think it's Oboshashe, the intro to it. It's literally like something out of Steve Ray Vaughan or John Mayer. Like it's very bluesy. It reminds me of Come Back to Bed, the song, like pretty much. And then you listen to Sake, and it's completely different. And it's I think it shows that the personality of the band comes from it. Look, I want to go back to the point when you're growing up, the first point of creative spark. Did you always know that you were going to be an artist or a musician, or was it kind of forced into you? Because growing up in Bangladesh, we're sometimes taught or forced into music schools until school ends, and then you're like, you got to be an engineer, or you're a doctor. How did your story come about? Like, did you know, or was there like a specific point in time where it was like a switch? You're like, this is what I want to do. Or you listen to a song and you're like, you know what, this is it. What was your story?
So my mother used to sing.
Okay.
And I remember she introduced me to some of her like music. She used to buy cassettes and stuff. But then my father used to always buy me cassettes and CDs and everything. Whenever he would go anywhere, he would bring me cassettes and stuff. That was like in the early 90s, of course. Like cassettes. I'm talking about cassettes.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
They're not there anymore. So, and then how parents are like in Bangladesh, I would say. So if you're doing something that you don't like, you're miserable and you're studying, then you're doing something right. That's the philosophy, right, basically. And if you're enjoying something, you're doing something wrong. You're
in the wrong path.
You're in the wrong path. And I think as growing up as a kid, if I see that even today, like kids, if they're doing something they love, they feel guilty about it. I think I did that as well. Like if I'm enjoying something, if I'm playing guitar, my father bought me a guitar. They were supportive in their own little way. And then I would play, but then I would feel like, I'm wasting my time or something. I
feel guilty.
I feel guilty.
Guilty for having fun.
It's just like, I wouldn't take music. No, I didn't think that I would take it professionally or this is what I would be doing. Like, but then I think at that time there was like MTV. I still remember watching MTV and then all this music, the new music that was coming out, like the alternatives, the Nirvana, Soundgarden, Alice in Chains, Pearl Jam, Stone Temple Pilots, Smashing Pumpkins, all these bands, Temple of the Dog,
and that grunge era, the 90s, Pearl Jam,
and then I would listen to this music and I was like, wow, this is something new, and it's like this is the emotion that the music couldn't touch, like. Something was missing. Like before that, all the rock, heavy metal stuff or the pop stuff that I would listen to. But
so with the cassettes and stuff that your parents used to buy or be lying around in the house. So what kind of music were they?
They were like everything. I would listen to like from Duran, Michael Jackson,
Pet Shop Boys,
of course, Wham, George Michael, all this music, and then Madonna.
And then you got MTV, and it introduces you to this new planet, this world.
And before that, all I just said about the names of the pop side, but then it was the Iron Maiden,
of course,
or Black Sabbath, Led Zeppelin, and all that stuff. And even the 80s were like Skid Row or Dio, Whitesnake, of course. All these bands, and then Bon Jovi. And Metallica.
Not just listing band names. Scorpion. It's competition.
Okay, anyway, so and then what happened was then the MTV. But I was listening to this music, but at one point I was kind of bored with it. Like it was not touching the emotion that I was feeling at that point. Like
you're listening, but it wasn't really connecting with you.
So I think I was in grade 8 or 7 or 8. The Soundgarden, I still remember the music video. The Day I Tried to Leave was the name of the song. And the music video came out. I was watching on MTV. It was like, wow, this is this is talking to me.
Yeah.
This is speaking to me. Like
Yeah.
that. This is the emotion I was feeling at that point of
Yeah.
my life.
Yeah.
And that's when I was like, I want to make, like, I want to play music like that.
Right.
I'll sit with my guitar and, want to sound like them.
Yeah.
All the people that I listened to.
Yeah.
And then, but still I didn't take it like seriously, the music. I didn't take it seriously. I got into the business studies because I had my family business. I thought I'll just do business anyway. I have to end up doing business, so I'll just do that. I was a dropout because I didn't like it, of course. I didn't like the study, the subject. It was a very irresponsible thing to do, like, to get into business when you actually love music.
Yeah.
I didn't even, I thought my parents wouldn't let me study music, so it never even occurred to me that I could actually pursue.
My question, and one of the questions actually is down the line, is did you have supportive parents? And you kind of said they were supportive in their own ways, but bring that aspect to me as well, because a lot of the creatives struggle with this part where they want to do something, but they have to satisfy their parents or social norms. How did that play out in your pathway?
So what happens with, I think, with parents is they were supportive. They were like, they thought, that's how they grew up.
Yes.
They think that, if somebody is going to do music, it's not going to be
Sustainable,
socially acceptable, stuff like that, and all these traditional thoughts that come up. So they will tell you, they told me basically that, you should just keep studying. And I thought to myself, like, they're not going to accept the fact that I love music and I can do music. So it was irresponsible of me to not convey to them that, this is what I want to do actually.
Yeah.
But at one point, I decided, no, actually I don't like studying music, studying business. So I want to do I want to make music basically.
Right.
So at one point I decided, no, I'm not going to keep doing it. I'm just going to tell them.
Did you realize that once you're studying business, or, it's kind of sometimes you're force-fed something before you realize you love something else. Was it something like that for you, or was it like you knew that you already love music, you already knew that getting into business was wrong until, shit hit the fan, you didn't switch?
So I'll tell you this. So here's where the Swami Mahabanian character comes in.
Nice. We're getting Swami Mahabanian before season 2.
Exactly. So he comes and tells me that this is Zubair, this is not what you should be doing.
Right.
You're not. This is not who you are.
Right.
So I studied business. Then I got into my father's business. It was a family business. We started that, and then I think that's when I actually stopped making. I was with the other band called Ashur.
Yep.
I quit the band. I was into business with my father, doing my family business, taking care of that.
Right.
And then I think 4 or 5 years I did that completely. And then I decided I did not want to do this anymore.
Yeah.
And I told my father that I decided to quit. And it was not easy for them to accept.
Yeah.
That my son is not going to take care of the business.
Yeah.
But I think when I told them that this is not who I am, when I'm doing something, I'm going to the business, going to office, but I'm not there. And this is not fair for the people who work there. It's not fair for myself. Yeah. It's not fair for anybody. So what's the point of doing something that's not honest? And it's not fair for anybody, basically. Maybe my I told him that, you're not going to like it. I knew that they're not going to like it if I quit.
Right.
But at some point they will understand that this is who he is. If they accept, that's good for both parties. If they don't, there's not much you can do.
Right.
But you have to be honest to yourself that what you want to do. Otherwise, it's not fair for anybody. Like if you're doing something, you're earning from a business that you don't love.
Yeah.
You're never going to feel grateful for the money that you're getting.
Correct. And it's also, a bad thing for the business owner as well, because they have someone who not only doesn't care about the job, but also doesn't fulfill themselves. So you're not going to get the best business decisions out of that person.
So it's just going to be a forced thing.
Yeah.
And nothing, I don't see anything good coming out of that.
Right. And how did that then come about? Did you just what was the reaction, and how did, at what point did they kind of make peace with the fact that, look, my son's going to be a musician, and in fact become proud of what you do?
So then I told that this is what I'm going to do. I'm not going to do business anymore.
Yeah.
They were very frustrated. There's, the typical drama that happens. But then I just decided that this is what I'm going to do. Then John and I, we started the band. We came up with the music video. And then my parents saw that actually he's doing something and he's enjoying it. He's doing something, he's enjoying it. He's playing music. He's doing something.
Right.
And they could see the result. That's the people talk about it, or it's on the TV, or it's on the radio, it's on the newspaper.
Right.
And then even I remember that it's a very wonderful thing, like when you have people who appreciate your music. So I remember my parents and I, we were going to Malaysia to see my sister.
Yeah.
And then when we go to the lounge, I saw this guy who came up and said that, hey, I really love your music.
Right.
And he was working there.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, the treat is on me.
Right.
For the whole family. So we got in.
Oh,
he was like,
fantastic.
He really gave us everything.
That's the biggest high you can
exactly.
get
That's
with
a wonderful thing. Like, and then my parents were like, wow, this is nice that my son actually doing something that actually matters to some other people else. As well. Like touches other people.
So I think it's making sure that building, like, I think a lot of the people just wants to do stuff just for the sake of doing it without any results. I think when you pursue a creative line that you disagree with your parents or disagree with the people who provide for you, you have to show results.
You have to show. I wouldn't say you have to show results. I think it's more like the result is when you do something and you believe in it.
The result is a side effect.
Yeah, it's just it happens. I think it just happens. It comes. I think.
Right.
It just happens. Like if you're doing something you love, if something happens when you don't love something and you're doing, it's still something happens. Like you do business, you make money. Yeah. And just think, when you actually put your heart and brain together into something will actually come out.
Right. I also want to talk to you about the creative process of writing a song. So what do you kind of go through before, say, going from point A to point B and then finally releasing it? What's the whole process? You've got the songs, you've got the tune, you've got the lyrics. What happens?
So it's never the same for us. Like it usually starts with John or I coming out with maybe a riff, a guitar, maybe a progression, or maybe a tune. And then we'll just take, like, Bart will say, hey, this might sound good. Yeah. It's never an individual effort. It's like the whole band is actually, gives their input into the song. So then we'll make we basically, till now, I think, except for one or two songs, all the other songs, we made the tune first. Mm-hmm. We made the music first, instrumentally, and we had the tune, and we knew what we were going to sing, and write the lyrics later. Right. And the lyrics, I had been the lyrics writer for Indalo all along, and for me, it's more like I would listen to the music and think what the music is trying to, it always has an emotion that it carries. And I think that triggers me to write something. Right. So I cannot tell you how it happens.
Right. So I guess even going back to the first first riff that you might think of, how does that even happen for you? So do you kind of just keep playing, practicing, and then you just think, oh, this sounds cool? Or do you actually have some routine or some like how does that creative spark come into place?
For lyrics, I would say something. For lyrics, what I do is sometimes, when you are, maybe you're sitting somewhere, you are in the car, or I don't know, you are maybe in your bathroom taking a shower, or just taking a dump,
And you said taking a shower. I thought you were going to say taking a shit. So anyway, I thought I was going there anyway.
Yeah, exactly. And then you come up with a line. Maybe it'll come to you like a line, because when you take a dump, that's like the most creative moment of the day. Right. Something comes up always. and then
and comes out as well.
comes out as well. So yeah, it's yeah. And then what I do is I put it down somewhere, usually on my cell phone,
Right.
and then so I'll just keep it there. And then when we write the songs, I'll just I'll open up all those moments,
Yeah.
and then something will, I'll think, wow, this goes with this one.
Right. So
I'll take
it's
it
almost
there.
like little puzzle pieces that you think during the day,
Exactly.
and then you sit down and try to match it all together into this one song.
Yeah.
That's beautiful. But does, I guess, living in Bangladesh and living in Dhaka specifically, with so many distractions, with so many disruptions happening during your day, how do you find a creative outlet to kind of stay away from all that, or do you use that as an inspiration for your music?
Yeah, I think I don't think I stay. There's no way of staying out of that, staying away from the city there.
Yeah.
That happens around you. Yeah, I think basically that's what happens. Like whatever happens around you, it gives you an indication of what you're going to write or.
Right. So, like, I guess what I mean is, so when you're making that puzzle or thing, something, the electricity just goes off, or, this is someone calling you from next downstairs, or something like. I don't know.
Exactly. That's
so,
that.
that disruption. Like, do you then kind of have certain times of the day that you work best, or how do you lay out your day?
Okay, so I love working at night for lyrics.
Right.
But for I think for music instrumentally, for I don't know when it happens. Like I would just sit with the acoustic guitar, or it could happen at the jamming.
Right.
Like maybe Dio would come up with a bit.
Yeah.
Maybe he will play something,
Yeah.
and then I'll play something over that.
Right.
John will play something over that.
Right.
And I'll put some input. Bart will put his input, and something we'll record it instantly. But sometimes it happens that it happens at one go, but other times we just record the thing, and then we listen to it again. We're like, wow, let's take it further.
Right.
So maybe John will sit at home and add something more to that, or I will sit at home and add something more to that.
Right.
And they will come.
So it's basically like a progression.
Yeah, exactly.
And how do you choose which song to put in an album or not? Because I don't think you just make 10 songs.
No.
Because you make maybe
Yeah.
twice as much. Some bands I know make like 50, 60 songs sometimes. Like, and I guess I'm talking about the big global bands. What's the process of knowing, okay, this song, or is it just a discussion?
No, I think what happens is, for us, even now we have like so many materials around us. Like we've recorded
just
so
waiting.
many things. Yeah. So always when we're jamming, we're coming up with something.
Yeah.
But what happens is, but you feel different at different time. Like maybe you jammed on a very happy song one day, but the next day you're not feeling that emotion anymore at that point.
Yeah.
So you don't want to play that song anymore.
Right.
It's always like that. Like I'll say, hey, do you want to work on this song? And John maybe will say, yeah, it sounds good. Let's work on this one.
Yeah.
So we'll just work on this one, and if it takes a shape, and we're like, okay, let's this is time for this one to go out.
Right.
So let's put it in an album, and
and then push it from there.
Yeah.
That's nice. But I guess going from that side of things to sorting out creative differences, right? So obviously it's easy to work when everyone's on the same page. Being in a band or in any team per se, especially in a band, because generally bands don't have band leaders.
Yeah.
Even though frontmen tend to nothing on John, but generally any looking at Freddie Mercury from Queen, or anywhere else, historically that's how it's been. How do you settle these differences, and how do you address them? What's the process?
I think it's about acceptance.
Yeah.
Like when you're in a band, you know that it's not just your thoughts that's gonna work out. You have to play with other people's thoughts as well.
Yeah.
And if you take it as an advantage, it's a great advantage as well.
Yeah.
Actually, because maybe something inspired you to write a song.
Yeah.
And it sounds like something, but when somebody else, like John or Dio or Bart, somebody brings something else into the music, it takes a very different shape, and you're like, wow, I never thought about it.
Right.
it actually is nice if you take it as an advantage. Like if you're very stuck up and you think, no, I just want to make it sound like the way I hear it in my head.
Yeah.
That's gonna be trouble if you're in a band.
Right.
I think that's time to go solo.
Just like Freddie Mercury.
Exactly. That's when it's time to go solo.
That's actually a good topic. How do you prioritize?
Like
how do you prioritize your life? Because I'm sure you get a lot of stuff thrown at you on a day-to-day basis, right? Like what do you know when to do? Or when you know what to do?
I don't.
You just do.
That's what happens is when there's too much thing to do, and I'll just go sleep. Yeah.
It's the most common form of human basic default setting, especially before exams. I remember, if all the assignments lined up after it's deadline tomorrow, just sleep. I want to kind of talk to you about your photography passion as well, which is also a form of art.
Yeah.
You've recently worked with Broke AF, or Broke pretty much.
Yeah.
How are you involved with them?
So Broke, the person who is behind it.
Yeah.
She's a friend. She's a very good friend of mine. So when she started this, it's like a recycle clothing design making company.
Yeah.
Brand basically.
Yeah.
So she was looking, she asked me for creative ideas, how to take photos or how to do these things, and I said, okay, let me just do this.
Right.
I could just help you with this.
Right.
So it's just like a friendly collaboration because I love photography.
Yeah.
And I thought I would love to explore that side of my creativity.
Right.
So
is it with Swami or is it with Zubair?
That's a difficult question. It's like the Swami is somebody who says, "Hey, this is what you should be doing," and then he walks away.
Right.
Zubair is the one who does things.
Okay. So Swami is the boss.
So Swami is the boss. It's
Right.
not the boss, but it's like
guide, the mentor.
Yeah.
Right.
There you go.
Talk to me about some of your biggest failures and learning, if any.
Biggest failures.
I mean, if you don't have any, we don't have to talk about it.
Of course, I do have failures. Like it's a failure. Like I got into music, business studies,
right?
But I dropped out.
Right.
It's a failure.
Yeah.
Because I didn't have to do that. Like if I was more responsible, I would just do something that I knew what I was going to do. I'll just do that.
So learning is basically being self-aware of your skills and being able to communicate that with your, in this case, your parents.
Yeah, or I think even if you think they're not going to let you do what you want, but you're dependent, I think you have to. You can. I think you have to respond to that situation. Like what are you gonna do?
Right.
If you know that this is what you really want to do, just do that. I think that's the most important thing.
Yeah.
But if you think, you cannot do music or art or anything that you love, you're passionate about, but you think you're just gonna feel safe if you just do something else.
Right.
There's there's nothing wrong with it, but I think it's I think people grow more when they do something they love.
Right. With creative blocks, right? So obviously your day-to-day task is to be creative, and it's all in the head. So you have to it can be mentally exhausting. And I'm sure you've had places and cases where you can't, put that puzzle together. What do you do to get out of it? And do you usually have like a ritual? Do you have something that you do to be able to get out of that creative block? So
for me, I think the hardest part and also the easiest part is to write lyrics.
Right.
Hardest because sometimes I don't know what to write about.
Yeah.
I would sit with the music and I'll think I don't know what to write on this music.
Yeah.
And then it's like a very frustrating thing.
Yes.
But at the same time, sometimes when you are maybe you're driving your car or maybe you're with your friends, something will come up. There will be a moment. Like I think when you're searching something, like if you're like, I want to do this. I don't know.
This lyrics deserves some music right now.
Yeah, exactly. It's always at the back of your head.
Right.
And then you see something, and I'm like, okay, let's write about this. And you start. Once I start, it's like it comes easy.
Right.
But I think it's starting, which is very difficult.
Right. Do you do anything like? Do you do any set practices or rituals or anything like that to help you improve your lyric writing? Or do you read more? Do you what are some of the things that you do to, I guess, get better at writing lyrics and playing and things like that?
I think for lyrics, I like reading.
Right. Books or just others like dissecting other songs and
more than songs. I think poetry.
Poetry. Okay. Is there any specific
no, I just there's this site on the internet. It's called kobita.ws.
Okay.
They're not renowned poets, but they're like anybody who's a writer would just go there and post their stuff.
Right.
Which is very fresh. Yeah. And you get to see writings of so many people there.
Wow.
So it's very interesting. So I just write and I'll just read those stuff, or anything that I can get. That just for inspiration,
Right.
Sometimes you will see words that are like, they sound really nice.
Yeah.
You put them down to use them later.
Right. And what about playing like guitar or any other instrument? Do you like practice set times a day, like 1 hour minimum a day or something like that? Or
I don't set a time.
Right.
I never set a time. But what happens to me is like I'm always on YouTube or Instagram, always watching people playing.
Right.
And something will inspire me. Like,
Right.
wow, this sounds really good. I want to pick it up.
Right.
And sometimes I'll want to pick it up. I'll fail.
Yeah.
And I'll play for hours and hours.
Trying to figure it out.
That's how it happens. Like,
right. What was the last one that you can think of that you picked up just by looking at it, like on Instagram or YouTube? Can you think of an example that you recently thought it was really cool and like I have to pick it up?
Well, there are many actually. There's this guitar player who's called Josh Smith.
Okay.
He's a blues player, but also jazz blues player.
Right.
So he plays this amazing stuff all the time. Like anything he plays is always musical.
Yeah.
And I would say, like he would just sit with the guitar and he would play, and I'm like, I could sit with hours, and I would have to come up with what he's playing like instantly.
Right.
And so I'd want to I was watching this guy playing at some guitar center somewhere.
Yeah.
He was playing guitar and he was just jamming basically.
Yeah.
And he came up with it was a very spontaneous jam, but he was playing all this stuff that people would have to actually sit and figure out to play. And I was thinking how he is doing it. So I would get into it, I would try to figure out what his thinking process is.
Yeah. And I want to talk a bit about the technical side of things as well. So one thing that people often overlook is the value of sound, the technicality of making sure that you get the exact right amount of the snare and you get the right amount of that pick and things like that. Of course, Rakat has done a few good stuff with Indalo and Nemesis for you guys. But for you personally, have you had some training around those areas, or how do you learn that process? Because that's something often overlooked by musicians, especially creating for the digital world.
Exactly.
It's the most important thing. So how do you go about that?
Yeah, I think music is sound, first of all.
Correct.
And I think for guitar players, I would say our guitar players in my country are very guilty of that.
Yeah.
Like they're very skillful players.
Yeah.
We have very skillful players. Yeah. But it's like somebody who can draw really beautifully, but they don't know colors.
Right.
So what happens is like the tone, I think the tone is very important for me personally. Like sometimes a tone that works with one song might not work with other songs.
Right.
So, and also I think for John and I, we're both we like the real tube amp sound, which is like the rock and roll,
the old school,
raw, the old school style, the guitar pedals going through an actual tube amp.
Right.
And that's the sound, because we personally do not like the sound of the processors and all the stuff that even we used. Yeah. But at one point we were like, no, we want to sound more like, we want to know the real, we want to sound the real, sound real basically.
Yeah.
And so we both invested on amps and guitar pedals and stuff, and the guitars and everything. And so it's very important for us. The sound is, I think it's very, very important for us. John and I would say basically we are both like very picky about the sound, like what the sound is like, the tone, guitar tones. Yeah. So John and I, we experimented in the first album. Yeah. We experimented with mics, which mics to put on the amp,
Right.
which amp sounds, what it sounds like with what guitar
Yeah.
should it go for this particular
Right.
song. So we'll like, let's say we when we were making Plastic, the song Plastic,
Yep.
we would want a guitar that sounds more punk,
Yeah.
has that punk sound,
Right.
not very distorted, but with an overdriven sound, but
Yep.
not distorted.
Yeah,
as
like
heavy metal.
Yeah,
exactly. So we I just thought I would just go with the amp drive, not
Right.
any pedals or anything else, just the amp cranked up. So that's what we recorded for Plastic.
So with things like this, though, do you think it's something that you can learn and develop and acquire in terms of understanding what to use, or do you think it just comes naturally, like what to use?
I think no, I don't think it comes just naturally. Just naturally, I think what comes is like, when you listen to music, when you keep listening to things, you know that this is what you want to sound like.
Yeah.
But you have to know how to sound like that.
Right.
I don't think it just comes naturally.
Right.
So like you have to explore. I don't think there is any school that teaches you to how to play rock and roll.
Right.
Basically, at least not in Bangladesh.
Well, School of Rock.
School of Rock, exactly. There's School of Rock, but so
Jack Black.
yeah, it's crazy, isn't it? Crazy good. So for us, it's like listening to music and going. Now we have so much information on the internet, like YouTube. If you go on the internet, you can find which artists is what they're using to make those music, those guitar tones.
Yeah.
Where are they coming from? So if you explore, invest your time on that.
Right. So basically research, understand,
Exactly.
get knowledge and
keep research. Yeah. I remember I would just be up till 3 or 4 in the morning just reading and watching videos just on guitar pedals.
Right. Yeah.
And
You're obsessed with
it's
it.
it's an obsession. It's like when you have all these pedals, they sound so different from one another.
Yeah.
And how they interact with the one pedal will interact very differently with different guitars and different pickups, different amps.
Yeah.
So you really have to know your pedal, know your equipment.
Yes.
And when you
And
know
know how
them,
to use it.
Exactly. So when you know them, you know how to make sound, the sound that you have in your head.
Right. I mean, if you really care for it, it'll pay off. It'll care for you pretty much.
Yeah.
Let's talk about money, right? This is one thing that comes up time and time again for musicians anywhere, pretty much, and especially in Bangladesh, where most, even the top artists, top musicians, have a side job. Essentially, they have a day job and they do this stuff, which basically tells us that either the scene hasn't developed as much, but even globally, it's becoming. I would say it's becoming easier. The technologies and the tools are there for you to make money, but to actually make money off music is becoming harder, if that makes sense.
It is, yes.
How would you say, for someone who's as successful as you, and I assume you do this full time as well, what are the few things that an independent artist can start to, at least, obviously you can't make money within a day. You have to build your craft, you have to build your audience. What are the things that they can do to start at least thinking about the monetary side of things? Because music is expensive. It's super expensive to have, get a good guitar, good amp, or whatever instruments that you do, unless you're a singer. Even if you're a singer these days, you need like processors and stuff.
If you want to make money, do not make music. But
Very encouraging.
Yeah. But if you can come with the terms that you might not make any money, but you want to do what you really love, then just do what you love.
Right.
You might be very successful and make a lot of money. You might not make any money.
Right.
But you'll be happy. Sometimes. If you want to make money, you have to go live, like do concerts basically.
Right. Live events.
I think that's live events. You can make money from YouTube, from other media and stuff, but I think the main source of income has to be your live concerts, events, or if you're doing stuff like that.
Yeah.
So that's So if you want to make money, you have to make music. You have to be out there. Basically,
Right.
you have to be out there. You have to connect with people.
Yeah.
And take it from there. Basically, I think.
Right.
But in our band, I would still say like Bart. He's not a full. He's a musician.
Yeah.
But at the same time, he
He's
works
at Radio Shadin.
Radio Shadi because he has a family. He has
Of course.
Yeah, he has a family.
Yes.
It's not always easy to just make money.
Be able to do it off music.
Yes.
Yeah.
So I think that's also a compromise. You have to make some compromises in life anyway,
Right.
because he does his work at Radio Shadin, but at the same time he's making music. And John is full-time a musician, but he's also doing he has other stuff.
Yeah. He acts
has
and
other
things
stuff.
like that. Yeah. Brand deals.
Exactly. And I do not work for my family business, but it also provides me because I'm a part of it.
Who do you think are currently doing great in the music industry, like both locally and globally?
Locally, there are many actually. I'd say the young guys who are coming up.
Yeah.
They're really doing great. Like there's this one artist called Fairuz.
Yeah, Fairuz Nazifa.
Fairuz Nazifa.
Yeah.
I'm also playing. So interestingly, Fairuz and I we started this project.
Right.
And
Mime on the radio.
Mime on the radio.
Mime on the radio. Yes.
So we're
I've
gonna
done my research.
Yeah. Good. So we're gonna play our first gig on the 13th.
Yeah.
There's this event called the Pubsville.
Right.
So
13th of December.
13th of December.
Right. Well, the people listening to this will have to take a time travel machine.
Oh, sure. Okay, so it already happened.
It has already happened. How was it?
It was really good. Mime on the radio did a great job. People loved it. We're really big now. Now you're
making money. Now we're making money everywhere.
We're making money everywhere. Yeah, we're going on tours. So anyway, Fairuz, I think she's a wonderful artist. She's very young. I think she has a long way to go. She's wonderful. There are many artists.
Yeah.
I don't know where to start and finish, but I see there's this one. There's this band called Pycat. They're very good. They're bringing out albums. I see them. Sinjan, the guy is called Sinjan.
Oh yeah, I've heard of some of his work. Yeah, Sinjan Sadat, I think.
He's very good in the sense that he's just making music.
Right.
For the
sake
of making music. And it's wonderful. And when you listen to the music, you can tell that he's doing it because he loves it.
For the love, yeah.
And then Farooq Bhai is there.
Yes, of course. Yeah. The good old Isa.
Yeah. And then many other guys like Attic. There's this band called Attic.
Yeah, Attic's fantastic. Yeah.
Headlines. This other band called I'm so bad with names.
Yeah. No, it is kind of, I personally feel, I was actually speaking to Isa Farooq Bhai about this thing and how we feel there's actually an explosion of great music since the ABC generation. Totally. After the ABC, there was, I think, a plateau of just rock bands. Yeah. And of course, RCC had its metal. Everything's metal in RCC. Yeah. But there was nothing else happening. But I think over the last couple of years, we're seeing this big boom of new artists, new sounds.
Exactly.
And I'm super excited, super pumped. Locally, at least. But internationally, who do you think are doing well? Or people who you follow that you love?
There are many, actually. I love Billie Eilish.
Really, yeah. She's been... I think she's... Just today, so she's the most streamed artist of 2019, as with Post Malone. Yeah, both of them.
Yeah, great. And then many others. Like there's an artist called Joji, who used to be a YouTube.
Filthy Frank.
Filthy Frank,
that guy.
The pink guy.
Yes, his. It's interesting to see how some of these artists are actually kind of moving from that digital YouTube world to music.
Exactly.
Some of it is really bad, but some people like Joji has been really, really good. It's interesting. I want to talk about quality and quantity with you. What is quality music to you? This could be a separate podcast series, to be honest. But I want to know from your, I guess, perspective, what is quality to you?
I can't point it out, but I know quality when I hear it.
Right.
So I think it's quality when you hear it.
Right.
You hear something and you can feel it.
So do you think it's different for different people, or can we objectively say, you know what, this meets certain criteria for quality music?
That's interesting.
I think it depends on your maturity, where your standard is.
Right.
I think when you maybe from 10 years from now, you will look back and you'll think this was bad quality.
So essentially, we have to put something out. So basically, we have to eat the food and see if we had to go to the toilet.
Exactly, how it functions in your body.
It's not just about tasting. It's not just about
tasting
the food. Right.
No, of course.
That's an interesting way to put it. So anything that has longevity, you would say, is quality music.
Sure, it might have. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Longevity is, definitely.
I mean, that's one criteria.
One criteria, but yeah, quality. I think quality comes with I think the thought, the love that you put into something.
Yeah.
It always translates into quality.
Right. And I think you can see that passion in that artist or the creator's work through their work, I guess. I think, is there anyone who you look up to, or you've looked up to musically in terms of...
many. There's this band called The Voids.
The Voids, yeah.
Which is a recent band. And
right.
I'm talking about just recent artists.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I love their work because I think they just do what they love.
Right.
They don't care anything about anything else. The Julian Casablancas, he's from The Strokes.
Correct.
So he's the one who's in the band.
Nice.
The Voids.
Right.
You should really check them out.
Yeah,
wonderful.
I'm a big fan of Julian, but I haven't heard The Voids.
And they have this song called Human Sadness. I think it's a masterpiece. It's like
wow.
I think it's an 8-minute or 10-minute song. I don't remember.
Still not as long as Sonic at the Prompter. I'm sorry.
Yeah, exactly. So it's a wonderful song. The music video, everything is wonderful. The whole album is just great.
Right.
Yeah, I really, and there are many guitarists. I think I've never seen so many wonderful guitarists coming up.
A few examples?
Matthias Asato, everyone knows him now.
Right.
And after him, there are many artists. There's one artist called K. Brown. He's a Japanese guy.
Right.
There's this little kid which is called Satria from I think he's from Indonesia.
Okay.
Wonderful guitar player.
Wow.
Josh Smith is there.
Yep.
And Derek Trucks.
Right.
Wonderful guitarists.
Wow.
And then Cahill Ferraris is this one. Most people don't know him. And many guitars. Like
I think even in the subcontinent we can see like a good rise. Even like from India, I've seen few, and again, not in terms of Hindi music, but from global point of view. Have you heard of Parak and Singh? Parak and Singh, they are doing really well. I think you'll really dig them. I think they broke up recently, but some of the stuff is fantastic. Okay. Also Pratik.
Yeah, I have.
His voice is very unique. It almost sounds like Passenger. It almost sounds like that, but I wouldn't know that it's an Indian guy from India.
Exactly. Yeah. When I heard the song, I was like, I didn't know he was.
So I think there's lots of cool stuff happening.
Yeah.
Pretty much ever. Even I can't think of the name, but yeah, pretty cool stuff that's happening.
And then the Tool comes in.
Yes. Thoughts on Tool. I want to know your thoughts on Tool.
So,
you guys have been covering Tool, from the stories.
Yes. Yeah. After the album came out.
Yes.
Their album came out. It was very inspiring again. We were
Right.
like, we've been listening to the album. We were like, let's play some Tool songs.
Yeah.
There's this guy who plays drums for Tool. The songs who cover songs for Tool.
For Tool. Yeah.
So his name is Nafi.
Right.
He's
the one who plays in the stories that I see.
Exactly. Yeah. He used to play for Cryptic Fate at one point.
Right.
He was when he started. When I saw him, he was 16-year-old playing a Cryptic Fate concert.
Wait, I think. Oh, is it? Wait. Were you in that concert in that Gulshan Youth Club? No, Youth Club. When the Gulshan, I think it's Youth Club. There were only 5 bands. It was a Victory Day concert. It was Black, Cryptic Fate, Watson Brothers. It was like a crazy lineup. Nemesis, that's it. That's the lineup. Art Cell and Black. That's it. Okay. No one else. And I think he played in that.
Probably he could.
He's this really young dude, right?
Yeah.
Back then.
He was really young.
Yeah. Oh wow. It's good to see he's still continuing.
Yeah. He loves to, like, he's been playing these songs for 16, 17 years, and he's very excited to play all these songs. And we'll let's cover some songs. Maybe we'll put up something. maybe a tribute concert or something.
That would be cool.
Maybe it has already happened.
Maybe it has already. How was the tool?
Oh, that
was very
really,
cool.
That was really good. Yeah. So.
I also kind of wanted to ask you about the history of rock. Well, not history, sorry, the future of rock music. I personally feel, and it's more, I guess, from my discussion with you, less about creators in this case. It's I feel the way rock music's going is kind of dying out. I feel, at least globally. Not a many. If you look at the top charts as well, there's hardly any rock bands. Whereas even in the 90s, we'd have Nirvana and Red Hot Chili Peppers up there. Where do you think it's going?
That's wonderful in a way, because when something dies here, something is going...
Correct. Growing up, yeah.
Growing up on the other side of the planet.
Correct.
So I think
So you agree that rock's dying?
Yeah, I don't think it's dying. It's
Right.
just growing up again.
Okay.
So it's like a...
So it's like a cycle.
It's a cycle,
Right.
yeah, yes. But I don't think somewhere somebody will always pick up the guitar and play rock music.
Right.
Like you cannot. It's not. Yeah, actually, what I think is rock music is not in the mainstream right now.
Right.
Which is true.
Yep.
It's not the mainstream music. It's not the top chart hitting music right now. But many players are playing rock music, which is wonderful, because when they're playing, they know that it's not going to be mainstream. It's not going to make as much money as the other genres.
Yeah.
But they're making music just for the love of it.
Right.
That's when you know that these are quality stuff.
Right.
But they're doing it for the passion.
Yeah.
They're not doing it for the money. They're not, the producers are not telling you, hey, just make this music because it's going to make money.
Right.
They're doing it just for the love of it. And there's so many bands, like so many wonderful bands, rock bands right now. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I think anybody who's looking, they know that it's not dead.
Right. So you still have the crowd for it, just not visible as it was before.
Yeah, not as many. It's not mainstream. Let's just say it's not. I think when the grunge, the movement came out in the 90s, they were on the background. They were like doing their own things in Seattle or all that part of the world. They're doing their one thing there, and they thought they're not going to be mainstream. That was their philosophy.
Right.
They didn't want to be mainstream.
Yeah.
They just wanted to be making music for their own little crowd.
Yeah.
And that was the whole philosophy of grunge, basically.
Yeah.
And I think when Nirvana and all these bands came into the limelight, that's when it started dying.
Do you think being on mainstream is a good or a bad thing, if at all, or it's just... Because some people look at mainstream and like, oh, that's mainstream, oh, it's too pop. Do you feel the same about mainstream music?
Because I don't think just because something is mainstream is bad, but most mainstream can be bad.
Right. Okay.
And when something goes mainstream, I feel like it has reached its climax and it's going to die soon. It's
Right.
like, there's no way from there to go anywhere unless anywhere else.
Right.
So, yeah. I think rock is not in the mainstream. That's why it's still alive.
Okay.
I think the stuff that are in the mainstream, too bad.
Yeah. Well, Billie Eilish is good. You said. So
They're wonderful. They're wonderful.
Yeah. I think it's interesting with what's happening as well. So, where do you think the future of the music industry is going to be? Where do you think it's heading? What do you think we'll be seeing a lot more of?
I have no idea. The way it's going, I have no idea. I cannot tell.
Do you think it's because of the internet?
It's because of the internet. Like right now, everyone is making music.
Yeah.
And there's so many music, so many stuff going out.
Yeah.
So even when I go on YouTube or Instagram or other platform, iTunes, I'll see artists. I'll listen to one song and I'll skip to another song. Yeah. And when I see that I love this artist, I'll listen to the album. I still do listen to albums. I love albums. But I don't know where it's gonna go.
Yeah.
Like where the music is gonna go. I have no idea.
Right.
It's still in a very confused. I think at this point it's in a kind of in a confused in a sense that we're not really sure where it's gonna stand in 10 years time from now.
Right.
But I think we'll go there. I think everything will be settled at once.
So, I guess coming from a more personal case, what would be your goal in the next 5 years? Where would you want to see yourself as a musician, if you've thought of that?
Yeah, I just set up a little studio at my own house.
Yeah.
So and also we Indalo and John and I we are all barred, and we have the other drummer now called Milan,
Right.
who also plays in Banglamotorr. So I think we're gonna explore other different genre. I will not say genre, but different styles in a way. Maybe the electronic side, scene, bass music,
Yeah.
all this stuff.
Based
So
on the recent story I've seen.
sure, yeah.
By
That's
the
not
time-
recent anymore.
It's already out there. I love the song. What's it called? Do we know the name?
No,
Okay. We don't know.
we don't know the name. That's the song that we are recording next Thursday.
Awesome. Can't wait.
So we're very excited about this song. It doesn't sound like any of the songs we've made so far. It's going to be a very long song.
Nice.
And
16 minutes, 14 seconds? At least.
That's too long. But at least maybe 7 minutes. I don't know.
Awesome. It's yeah, it looked very promising. Can't wait for it.
Yeah, and John is hopefully playing some
Yeah, nice. MIDI.
MIDI keyboards and stuff.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think we'll explore other different
Genres and
genres.
styles.
And also I'm playing with the other band Banglamotorr,
Right.
that we just recently recorded some songs. And we're very happy with how it sounds.
Right.
So
Yeah, I've just listened to it. It's awesome.
So yeah, Banglamotorr is going to. With Banglamotorr, I think it's very chilled out. We make music.
I love Lucy. It was fantastic.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, it's really good.
So the next song is also we're very chilled out, because right now our bassist has changed. So Ratul from Nemesis is playing.
Oh, nice.
So on this song, he played the bass, and it was wonderful. It's a wonderful bassist to play with.
Some of his bass lines with Nemesis just fantastic. Yeah.
Fantastic. So yeah.
Awesome.
Also with Mime on the radio,
Right. Of course.
Cyrus and I, we're planning to do.
People
make some
already
music.
know. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're already big.
So, we've done stuff already. In the next 5 years, maybe we're planning on a world tour.
Who knows? Just finally, before we head out, 3 actionable steps that you think you can give to someone who wants to walk your path as a musician. So, not things like be yourself, number one, unique, all that stuff, but actionable steps for someone who's just kind of understanding, this pathway and wants to take up music or guitar playing or something like that. It doesn't have to be 3. It could be just 1 actionable step, but it has to be actionable.
If it's about guitar playing, I would say, because now there are so many resources, you can go online and find so many resources. I think it's very important to know which style of music you really love, because when you're going to invest your money on a guitar or an amp, it's important to know what you're going to play. You can play anything with any instrument, but also there are some instruments which which are more practical for some genres of music.
Right.
So I think it's important to know what you're going to play, what you want to play, and invest your time and energy on that.
So just basically practice.
Practice, basically,
Right.
yeah. And other than so because it's so many stuff going on, it's very easy to get distracted.
Yeah.
So I think it's important to really know what you want.
Having self-awareness.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Where can people find you online? If you want them to find you online.
Yes, sure. They should find me online. They can find us they can find Indalo on Indalo Man on Instagram.
Yep.
And my personal Instagram is Zubair_HC.
Yep.
So Somi Mabanian is also there.
Who will have season 2.
Yeah, for my photography stuff. And on Facebook, Indalo is on Facebook as well. Banglamotorr is on Facebook.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube.
Yeah.
Indalo Banglamotorr and Mime on the radio. So
That's it.
Yeah.
Well, it was a pleasure having you, Zubair.
It was wonderful, man. It was wonderful talking about the stuff that I cannot usually talk about.
Yeah, that's
it's a great way. It's like a let out.
Yeah, that's I guess the point of this podcast, just to get
wonderful.
Yeah, good stuff. Thanks, man.
Right. Thank you very much.
Soon.